actually remember, and again, as a physician, I was like, come on, there are bigger problems in life. Why am I getting so
Yes,
upset? But I
that's
remember
right.
when I thought that at least I could keep it to myself. And then my son one day was like, oh, I can see part of your scalp. And I thought I actually started to cry. Right.
Yes. Oh, and see,
And it actually makes me like upset even thinking about it over 10 years ago. But for me, what was particularly distressing, and I don't think people talk about, I think part of the reason why people don't talk about it is because there's, again, some shame and embarrassment, and also this feeling of like, well, it's not like heart disease, it's not like cancer, so I feel kind of superficial bringing it up. But I was noticing some hair thinning and hair
oh,
loss. And I'm sure, especially as a therapist, you've probably talked to women about how distressing it is when, you know, part of your physical identity you feel like you don't have much control over as you're going through this sort of emotional roller coaster, physiologic roller coaster that is associated with the hormonal swings with perimenopause and menopause. So I think that, I wanted to share that because it is a fairly common symptom associated with perimenopause and menopause. There are solutions, including first just making sure you get a well-woman checkup with a gynecologist, someone who is skilled in the area of taking care of women going through menopause, and then potentially also working with a dermatologist or other resources around you, because you shouldn't have to feel embarrassed by it or like feel like your life is coming to an end. Not to make it sound so dramatic, but it's an issue for some.
Really stunned that you brought this up because you are the first person, first expert that I've spoken to that has mentioned it on a personal scale, and it is my story too. I have a picture of my before and after of my hair loss here and of the stuff that I've used to try to make my hair. I would say I probably lost a third of my hair in the process.
It is so distressing when that happens. And I actually remember, and again, as a physician, I was like, come on, there are bigger problems in life. Why am I getting so upset? But I remember when I thought that at least I could keep it to myself. And then my son one day was like, oh, I can see part of your scalp. And I thought I actually started to cry. Right.
Yes. Oh, and
it actually makes me like upset even thinking about it over 10 years ago. So I think, when you're dealing with the normal physiologic changes associated with the midlife transition, right? All very normal. And on top of it, you feel like you're becoming more and more invisible, because I think this society, I think we can all agree, really values youth and reproductive capacity. That, battered with that and the mood swings, this can actually be like the double whammy. And there are a variety of different solutions. I fortunately found one because I didn't want to take a pill or Rogaine to try to help with that. I know that the Menopause Society and the FDA does not endorse hormone therapy to manage dermatologic scalp issues. It is FDA approved hormone therapy, and I'm a big supporter of hormone therapy and the appropriate clinical applications for osteoporosis prevention and moderate to severe vasomotor symptoms. But I personally found that starting myself on a little bit of menopausal hormone therapy actually helps sort of stabilize things.
Yes.
And I'm heartened to hear that you actually, not heartened because it's distressing for any woman to actually like lose hair.
Yes.
But to actually also understand, like have other people in the audience realize that this is actually a fairly common symptom and there are ways to address it.
Yes. I actually, as soon as you said it, I wish you could have heard inside my head saying, oh my gosh, me too. Yeah. And it goes in the list of taboo topics that I feel like need to be highlighted. So I started talking about my hair loss publicly. Yes. And I'm sure you can imagine when I speak, people want to ask a lot of sex questions, and you don't have a lot of, it's hard to have an expert in sex at your disposal. So they'll ask about these questions. As soon as I went public about my hair loss, it was exponentially, it was 3 or 4 times the questions I was getting about hair loss. And it was the very similar way. It was in whispers, it was on the side. And then finally I'm going to scream it from the rooftop because I know that this is such a common symptom and we are all feeling shame. And because it was the same, I had the same thought in my head, which is there are bigger problems in the world. There are bigger health problems to be having. This sounds so vain. And yet it's the one symptom that made me cry and I had a similar thing. I had my daughter, looked over at me and saw hair. I was just sitting there, hair falling off and fell onto my sweater, and she started crying. And she was afraid it meant I was really unhealthy, and it scared her. And that made me upset as well. I had a friend make a comment to me about how stringy my hair had gotten. And I couldn't believe it was visible. Right. And I couldn't believe that it felt very out of control. Absolutely. And it became the highlight of, oh, here it is, another experience of a female identified person who is having their body be overtaken by something. When it feels like your body's attacking you or letting you down, and you don't know what your options are to either stop it from getting worse or, make things better, it can feel even more scary to put your hope into a product or a company or to a test or a procedure while you're already feeling at a disadvantage in your body. So you have to do all this extra work. And so to walk into a clinic, a hair clinic, or walk into your bone density test, or whatever it is, it takes so much courage and bravery and strength. We're doing so much of it privately. And what I'm grateful for, especially in the past few years, is that it's really not being as private. Regardless of what the issues are, we're a lot more educated. And as women, we're banding together and giving each other this idea. Look at this. You should be doing this. Think about this. This is an expert to be following on social media. This is a test you should be researching yourself. And helping each other. I call it medical agency, helping each other have the strength and the bravery and the knowledge to know what you need and what you want, to listen to what your body is saying, and to know we have the right to seek support and feel relief as much as we have the ability from the symptoms that are happening.
Absolutely. And having conversations like this, again, because there's so many different personalized journeys for women going through this process, it's not a one size fits all, but not being embarrassed, understanding that every woman of a certain age is going to be experiencing menopause, so they probably have it on their mind, and understanding that sharing it, you actually might hear about some solutions you didn't know about otherwise.